Before dawn broke over the Utah peaks, something shifted in the quiet. In his sanctuary at Sundance, Robert Redford exhaled his last breath. He was 89. He chose to leave from the land he loved, among whispers of wind and the shadows of pines.
I thought, this is a dud. Well, because there was a song in the middle of it.
Raindrops keep falling.
Across Hollywood and beyond, the news fell like a hush. A legend had passed, but more than that, a mirror was held up to what it means to live a life in light and in service. From the moment that word spread, tributes poured in, not just for the star, but for the man behind the myth. Meryl Streep called him one of the lions, a presence too grand to forget. Jane Fonda, his lifelong collaborator and friend, confessed, "I can't stop crying," speaking of a spirit she said was beautiful in every way. Barbra Streisand remembered days on the set of The Way We Were as pure joy, even though she and Redford were such opposites. Ron Howard called him a game changer, someone whose choices shifted the trajectory of cinema itself. Even Bob Woodward, the journalist Redford portrayed on screen, described him as a noble, principled force for good. These are not just eulogies. They are refracted truths, small windows into a man whose art and life were bound together. The camera often saw his face. His heart worked behind the scenes. And that duality of celebrity and conscience is the thread that binds what we remember. He began life as Charles Robert Redford Jr., born August 18, 1936.
What Bill of Rights? We don't have any Bill of Rights. We don't have free speech in this country. We never will have.
We never will if people aren't willing to take a stand for what's right.
We never will have because people are scared.
Why, I'm sorry.
He was captivating.
You're very nearly perfect.
He never settled for easy paths. Painting, travel, longing, before cinema called him, he chased the echoes of meaning. When acting came, he embraced it as much as he challenged it. In 1969, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid became more than a hit. It became a mythic identity. The name Sundance would later be his banner and his cause. Over the years, his roles unfolded like chapters. The Sting, All the President's Men, Jeremiah Johnson, The Way We Were, each film deepening our sense of him. He rarely played pure heroes. His characters were rooted in tension, contradiction, vulnerability. Through him, Hollywood flirted with moral complexity again, but Redford's most daring act came away from the limelight. Frustrated by the studio grind, in the early 1980s he nurtured his Utah land and founded what became the Sundance Institute and Festival. He opened a door for storytellers cast aside by the mainstream. Young voices found hope and audience under his auspices. Over time, Sundance launched careers, creatives like Ava DuVernay, Chloe Zhao, Ryan Coogler, voices that might have remained whispers. And even as the festival now prepares to relocate from Park City to Boulder by 2027, the Utah roots remain sacred. Plans for Redford Remembered, a month-long retrospective running in November. We'll screen a dozen of his films in Salt Lake City, a living tribute to his emotional range and cultural weight. In 2025, Redford reappeared quietly. Though he had publicly retired years earlier, he took a small cameo in Dark Winds, asking for a closed set, returning on his own terms. In that brief scene opposite George R.R. Martin in a chess game behind bars, he looked weaker, older, but alive. He whispered, "Make a move." It felt symbolic, as though he was reminding the world. Time passes, but stories demand action. His personal life was threaded with triumph and pain. He carried the loss of a son, James. He sold his long-held California home, signaling deeper commitment to the land he had grafted his dreams onto. He walked toward simplicity, toward values, toward depth. And then in the quiet cradle of mountain shadow and human love, he chose to leave, without spectacle, without curtain calls, just a humble goodbye in the place his spirit called home. When a star dims, what survives is echo, memory, what lingers in shared breath. In Salt Lake City, they've organized Redford Remembered. 11 films, 1 month, a communal conversation. Utah is reclaiming the legacy it hosted. The Salt Lake Film Society says the retrospective is not nostalgia, it's vitality. In theaters like Broadway Center Cinemas, people will gather to absorb again the faces, the light and shadow of his work, Meanwhile, Sundance officials are planning to salute him in their coming festival, not as a footnote, but as its heartbeat. Hollywood's response has been deeply human. Meryl Streep, Jane Fonda, Barbara Streisand, Ron Howard, Bob Woodward, all speaking less of roles and more of spirit. Leonardo DiCaprio reminded the world that Redford's fight for the environment, his work with indigenous causes, his platform as activist, were as real as his marquee films. Ethan Hawke called him a champion of independent cinema and authentic storytelling. These voices remind us his fame was never the goal, influence was. He asked of cinema what few dare, that it matter. That the stories we tell shape how we see ourselves, our world, our future. He believed the quiet could speak as loud as spectacle. He believed in giving space, in lifting voices, in risking failure in service of beauty. He built systems for those beliefs. So what does that leave us now? We carry his films in our nights. We carry his festival in fresh artists' eyes. We carry the question, what is our move? How do we honor legacy without idolizing it? How do we cultivate new ground for art? As the screen darkens, the lasting image is not of a face, but of possibility. That art can be more than escape, that voices matter, that stories change things. Robert Redford's greatest role was never only on screen. It was in the spaces he created, the dreams he ignited, and the questions he left echoing. He remains in that sense alive,